Good morning. It's time for another episode of the Monday Morning Leadership Bite. Hey, you notice a new background. I'm trying something different. This time of year it's a little dark and I'm trying to see if I can get better light by changing the room. So we'll see how this goes and also maybe better sound. So bear with me as I do a little bit experimenting. So you remember last week I stated that what we'll do for the month of January would be to look at achieving successful goals. How do you set a goal and be successful at it? And part of it was because of this time of year, many people make resolutions for the year, something they're going to do differently or change in the new year. And so this was a good time to do that. I personally am not big on making resolutions. I don't think that we put a lot of pressure on ourselves on doing something in the new year. And I think you can do it any time of year. So regardless of where you're at with your goals, I think the next couple of episodes you will appreciate if you're setting goals. And I think it's an important attribute of leaders or even individuals to how to set a goal. And we're gonna dive into that and dive into some of the barriers of it, as well as just how to be successful at it. So I wrote myself down some notes. I'm gonna be paying attention to those. 8% of people who set goals, regardless of their resolutions or not, only 8% are successful at achieving them. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Some of it, the other goals are unrealistic. Some of the goals are not time-bound, or you didn't realize how long it will take, or how much time you would need in order to accomplish that. Some goals themselves are negative goals, in a sense that a goal is not to do something versus to do something, and negative goals aren't nearly successful as positive goals. We'll talk about that in later episodes. And some of the goals don't have built-in motivation or accountability. So that's one of the reasons why goals are not successful. So when you're doing your goal setting, there are about 5 tips I have for you. So first, once you've decided on the goal, let's say it's to be healthier, maybe it's to read your Bible more, maybe it's to do something in your career. If you want fuel for the goal itself, you have to define the why. Why is it important for that goal? Why now and why that goal? So defining the why will really help you solidify the goal itself. It'll actually start to bring the goal more into focus. And so many times we will do something like, I want to be healthier, but we don't say why. So I actually started a goal that I'm in the midst of accomplishing probably at the end of the May time frame, and that was to be healthier. And I defined what that is, and why it was important is that I'm coming up on a milestone birthday in a year. At this point, less than a year, but the time was in a year. And I wanted to be healthier going into that milestone birthday. So that was my big why. So the birthday doesn't go away, it's still there. And even if I stumble or stop, I'm still achieving something toward that because of the why in that. So defining why is very important. It'll also help you become very specific. Next, making it SMART goals. This is something that's been out there. You can do research on it, you can Google on it, but basically SMART stands for being specific. It needs to be measurable, it needs to be attainable, it needs to be realistic, and then it needs to be time-bound. So being able to say that a goal is very specific, that you can measure it. I'm going to save 10% this year for vacation. I'm going to save 10% this year for my kids' education. So you're being very specific about what the goal is. Is it attainable? Only you can determine if it's attainable. It is time-bound. Maybe it's the end of this year, 30 days, 60 days, whatever that might be, but this very specific on an amount. Next would be writing it down. There's a lot of research on the power of writing it down, something to do with the synapses of our brains, that something physically happens when we write something down. And I don't mean type it into your phone or into your iPad or device that you might have. I'm talking about physically writing it down, taking pen to paper and writing down their goals. Even if you transfer that into electronic format, you should write them down, and you should have them someplace where they're visible that you can look at. You're more likely, actually, if you write them down, research says 40% more likely to achieve the goals if you write them down. So 8% if you just say, I'm gonna go set a goal. But when you write it down, it becomes up to 42% when you write it down. So write down your goals is very important. And it transfers the wish, hope, and dream into reality because it's something you can look at. You've already kind of trained your brain on it. And if you make it visible, it's something you're going to see it. Next, building in accountability. make sure you have accountability built into your goals. What does that look like? It doesn't necessarily mean having an accountability partner, although that could be one way. It could mean that there's motivation built in, that if you accomplish part of your goal, that you reward yourself with something else. Do a reward system, and it's going to keep you accountable because you don't get that reward unless you do that. And then lastly, make sure there's an action plan to your goals. It's very important that when we take something that is at a very global level, like being healthier or losing weight, and turn it into an action plan. What do you need to do that? When I started on being healthier for the last year, it started out small. It started out with getting out of junk food out of the house. It started with those kind of things, snacks and things out of the house, or having more healthier snacks like fruit around. It started with maybe working out once or twice a week, and then moving that into 3 and 4 times a week. It started with getting more sleep. So you start to habit stack. You do an action plan. I start here and then do this, and then I do that, and then I go to something else. So it's very important that you have an action plan, because the reason why goals fail is that we come up with a very, very good goal, something we can maybe attain, but we don't really put a plan in order to accomplish the goal. If you don't have a plan on it, it's just a hope and a wish, and that's all it is. But when you put a plan on it, especially if those plans can also be very specific, what you're doing is you're making little sub goals. So that, let me do this week, let me do this month, let me do this quarter. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to perform a little experiment for this week. This week, even if you already have defined a goal for the year, or you've defined a goal that you want to go after, spend the week just sitting down every day and just writing something toward that, writing your plan down to get that goal accomplished. And look at it every single day and refine it every day. See if there's some other aspect you can add to it. The where, the why, the how, the what. And if you do that every day, there are 2 things that are going to happen. One, by writing it down every day, you actually start to become more focused in on the goal itself. And you'll start to refine exactly what it is that you want. And it could be bold, it could be audacious. Go for it. If anything, it should be bigger than where you are now. It should be something that maybe even scares you a little bit in terms of accomplishment. It should not be limited by your resources you currently have today. You should shoot for something beyond what you currently have. The second thing it would do, by you focusing on your goals every single day and refining them down, you will start to focus in and actually start to attract things that come to you. You'll be more in tune about what's happening around you, so that you'll hear someone who has a similar goal that you do, and that may be your accountability partner. You may hear of an opportunity that may help you further your goal. You could see of an ad for a gym that you want to join, and that's perfect because now you're paying attention to that specific goal. So spending some time this week is your challenge this week, is to go ahead and spend time every day reviewing your goals. And do me a favor. I hope you enjoyed this message. And remember, this is 1 of 4. Feel free to share this message. There's someone you know that's probably going after a goal of theirs. Maybe they've already started to struggle. It's kind of interesting. Here we are on the 7th of January, and I already hear people who are like, oh, I messed up on my goal, and we're only a week into the year. So it's important to understand that even if you stumble, and we'll talk about that in a future episode, is that you can move forward from where you're at. You don't have to start over. You move forward from where you're at, and you move on, and you refine, and you continue to you make your accomplishments as you go along the way. So please do me a favor and like the video. Provide me any comments you have on what goals you've set for 2019, and share the video. And I'll see you next week on the Monday Morning Leadership Bite.